You know, when you think of Coca-Cola, you probably think of the iconic ads, right? The polar bears, that classic red logo. But the real story, the secret to its absolute global dominance, isn't about marketing. No, it's about a series of incredibly powerful, brilliantly engineered machines.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The world's most famous beverage didn't start in some fancy boardroom. It started as a potent, borderline legal drug, born from post-war trauma and some pretty wild pharmacological experiments. So how on earth did that become the empire we know today?
And here's the thing. The answer is that Coca-Cola isn't just a product. It's a system, a machine built on chemical pivots, logistical genius, and this relentless drive to standardize a human sensation. This is the story of how that machine was built. So our story kicks off back in the 1880s, and it doesn't start with a refreshing drink, not at all. It starts with what they called a medical cure. So, take a look at this. This was the original Coca-Cola. It was invented by Dr. John Pemberton, a Civil War vet who was actually trying to kick his own morphine addiction. What he made was a true brain tonic, a potent 1-2 punch combining the dopamine rush of cocaine with the long-lasting jolt of caffeine. This wasn't a soda. This was medicine, sold right at the pharmacy counter to cure things like exhaustion and depression. But this is where the real industrial genius starts to kick in. Public pressure was mounting, so the new owner, a guy named Asa Candler, had to get the active cocaine out. But how he did it? That was brilliant. He switched to using spent coca leaves, the ones pharmaceutical companies had already processed. This kept that unique flavor, but, and this is the killer move, it gave Coca-Cola a special federal exemption to be the only company allowed to import them. They literally built a chemical moat around their product that nobody else could cross. Okay, so the formula is locked down. Now they have a new problem. How do you scale this thing? Well, they stumbled, almost completely by accident, into one of the most powerful business models ever created. Get this. In 1899, the nationwide bottling rights were sold for just $1. A single dollar. The owner, Asa Candler, he thought bottling was a total logistical nightmare, a surefire way to go broke. Man, he could not have been more wrong. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Instead of building their own giant, crazy expensive factory, that $1 deal created this amazing decentralized franchise web. See, the main company, they only sold the secret sauce, the concentrate, which is super lightweight and easy to ship. All the local partners, the bottlers, they took on all the expensive risks. The water, the glass, the factories, the trucks, all of it. And that, right there, is how the brand just exploded across the country with almost zero risk to the parent company. It was genius. So to protect this new empire, they basically relied on 3 pillars. First, of course, the secret formula. Second, that franchise system we just talked about. And third, a brilliant piece of hardware, the Contour bottle from 1915. The whole idea was to make a bottle so unique you could recognize it by feel, even if it was shattered on the floor. It was a physical barrier to entry. Okay, so the franchise machine let Coke conquer America, but to conquer the entire world? For that, it was going to embed itself inside another much, much larger machine, the US military. Right after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the company president, Robert Woodruff, issued this now legendary mandate. But listen, this wasn't just about patriotism. This was a masterful, strategic move for state-sponsored global expansion. Just look at these tactics. It's incredible. First, they convinced the government that Coke was essential for troop morale, which got them exempted from sugar rationing while their competitors struggled. Then, and this is wild, they sent their own engineers, who they called Coca-Cola colonels, right to the front lines. These guys weren't soldiers. They were industrial pros, building mobile, rugged bottling plants and water purification systems that could work absolutely anywhere. And the result of all this? 64 bottling plants built overseas, all paid for by the military. And when the war ended, guess what? Those plants stayed right where they were. They were sold to local partners, creating an instant global footprint overnight. The war was literally a logistical Trojan horse that delivered an empire. All right, let's fast forward to the post-war era and see how this machine just keeps building on itself. Now that it's a global power, it pivots twice. First, to conquer the agricultural market, and then to conquer a political ideology. For decades, Coke was the biggest buyer of sugar in the world, but sugar prices, they were all over the place, politically risky. So, in the 1980s, the company made a cold-blooded industrial pivot. I mean, they re-engineered the entire formula just to switch from cane sugar to high-fructose corn syrup. Now, this had nothing to do with taste. It was all about locking their product into the super stable, heavily subsidized corn industry of the American Midwest. That meant cheap, predictable costs forever. And at the exact same time, they were fighting the Cold War. While Pepsi was busy making deals with the Soviet government, Coke played the long game. They got a logistical blitzkrieg ready to go. The very moment the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, Coke's pre-prepared teams just flooded into Eastern Europe. They weren't just shipping bottles. Oh no. They were installing entire bottling lines inside old state-run factories, empowering local partners and completely dominating the market before competitors could even book a plane ticket. So, by the time we hit the 21st century, the machine faced a brand new enemy, the global war on sugar. To survive, it had to evolve yet again, and it did so by going back to its roots, in a way, commodifying not a stimulant, but the most basic resource there is. And this is the genius behind a brand like Dasani. It's not natural spring water. It's what you could call a processed fluid. They take local tap water from anywhere in the world, use reverse osmosis to strip it of everything, creating a total blank slate, and then they inject their own proprietary blend of minerals back in. Why? So a bottle of Dasani in Dubai tastes exactly the same as one in Denver. It's brilliant. So what this really means is that they use that same franchise machine to manufacture a totally new product from a free local resource. The machine had successfully unhooked itself from sugar. It proved it could sell the process of purity just as effectively as it had once sold the kick of stimulants. And that incredible adaptability brings us to where we are today. After more than a century of evolution, from drugs to sugar to water, the Coca-Cola Company isn't really just a company anymore. It's become this permanent, almost indestructible part of our global infrastructure. I mean, just think about it. That original formula? It's now just a source code for a massive financial engine. The machine itself is a data-driven network. Those freestyle vending machines you see everywhere, they're real-time sensors tracking our taste preferences to predict and even shape what we desire next. It's a decentralized network that basically moves liquid through the veins of civilization with the precision of a heartbeat. And ultimately, this is the real secret, isn't it? Coca-Cola conquered the world because they mastered the chemistry of desire. They engineered a system that could standardize a sensation and then deliver it with perfect, predictable consistency to every last corner of the planet. They didn't just build a brand, they built a global habit. So, this machine that started as a cure for one soldier's addiction, it's outlived wars, empires, and ideologies. It was built by turning a feeling into a formula, and then turning that formula into an unbreakable global system. So that leaves us with one big question. What's next?